Hi, and welcome back to little story time with me. I have here a book called The Classic Treasury of Hans Christian Andersen. And if you are not familiar with him, he is a Danish author, born in 1805 and lived until 1875, if I remember correctly. He was very famous, not only in Denmark, but all over the world. He has written lots of fairy tales and stories, some of which you may know, and if not, then I can introduce you to them. This book here only has a selection of his stories, and I found it at a book off store. It was $7.50, and being from Denmark, I grew up listening to his stories and reading them, and so I saw it and I said that I needed to get it. I have another book in Danish with some of his stories as well, but in Danish obviously, so when I saw this, I figured I had to get it. On the back, it has a list of the stories, which is Thumbelina, the Nightingale, the Steadfast Tin Soldier, the Little Mermaid, the Little Magic Girl, the Emperor's New Clothes, the Ugly Duckling, and the Princess and the Pea. That might be facing the wrong way for you guys. But yeah, this is the book. Cute illustrations on the outside as well as on the inside. And I can make several videos with all the stories, if that's something anyone would like. This does not feature my favorite story of his, which is The Fir Tree. I do have that story on or in the Danish book I have with his stories. So if anyone would like, I can read that in Danish. But today, I was going to go ahead and read The Little Match Girl for you guys. And so, I hope you enjoy. And if you didn't already know who he was, I hope that you will, I guess learn about him today. I'm not really going to talk about him much, but I hope that then you now know that he was Danish, like me, and that he wrote some really great stories. And if you want to, you're more than welcome to look him up. He was pretty cool. When I went to Denmark, December, I went to his childhood home. There was a little museum for him, and it's really cool. Definitely worth a visit if you ever find yourself in Denmark. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and read The Little Magic Girl for you. I hope you enjoy. All right, let's go ahead and flip through it. We got the contents here, sorry. And we're gonna go to page 36, which is the Little Match Girl. Just gonna skip ahead here through the stories. And like I said, if anyone wants me to read any of the other stories, I can do that. As well as I can read The from the Danish book I have, if you want to hear them in Danish. Alright, here we go. The Little Match Girl. It was New Year's Eve. The snow was falling on the streets, now empty of people, for it was almost dark. Everyone had gone home to bank up fires and prepare a feast to celebrate the end of the old year. Only a little girl was left, and she seemed to have nowhere to go. She had lost both her shoes. They had been her mother's and too big for her, and they had come off as she ran out of the way of two carriages dashing along the road. Her feet were dirty and scratched. They looked almost frozen. Her long yellow hair was covered with snowflakes. She had no coat, just a thin dress and apron. In the apron, she carried a bundle of matches, which she had been trying to sell all day. No one had bought a single match from her, and now she could not go home because her father would beat her if she returned empty-handed. She was cold, hungry, and wretched. She thought about the people who lived in the well-lit houses she passed. She thought about them sitting around the fire, warming their toes. She thought about the goose roasting on the spit, which she could smell from the street. She thought about the cold attic where she lived, under a roof that did not keep out the wind because it was full of holes. She could suddenly bear no more, and she slumped to the ground in the alleyway between two houses. She took one of her matches and struck it on the brick wall. She held her other hand round its bright flame and felt its warmth. Then it grew bigger, and for a moment she seemed to be sitting in front of a big iron stove. Oh, how blissful it was. But as she put out her legs to warm them, the picture disappeared. She was as cold as ever, with a spent match in her hand. She had wasted one match. She might as well strike another. This time the flame sprang up so quickly the wall seemed to melt away, and she looked into her room where the table was spread for a wonderful meal. The tablecloth was sparkling white, and the china was of the most delicate colors, rimmed with gold. On a great platter in the middle of the table lay a fat goose, its stuffing of apples and prunes giving off a smell that made her mouth water. As she gazed inside, the goose got to its feet, jumped off the table, and walked towards her. But before it reached her, all went dark again, and her hands felt only the bitter cold of the wall. Almost fainting with hunger, the little girl struck her third match. Now above her she could see a Christmas tree that was bigger and more beautifully decorated than any she had ever seen before. Thousands of candles flickered in its branches, but as she marveled at them, the match went out. Instead of the candles on a tree, she saw the stars far away in the heavens. One of them shot across the sky. That means someone's dying, she thought. Her dead grandmother, who'd been the only one to love her, had explained that when a star falls, it means a human soul is on its way to God. The little girl struck another match, and in its light she saw her grandmother, just as she remembered her, smiling with such warm kindness. "Grandmother," she called out, "don't go away like the stove and the goose and the Christmas tree. Let me come with you." She lit all the matches that were left, so there was light everywhere, and her grandmother came nearer. She hugged the little girl and carried her away from the cold street and up into the arms of God. The next morning the little girl lay dead, her body frozen, yet her face at peace. In her apron were all the spent matches. The people who found her said she must have been trying to keep warm. No one realized what visions her matches had brought. No one knew how she and her grandmother had greeted the new year. And that's the end of that story. It is kind of a sad story. Well, not kind of. It is a sad story about this little girl who, just all she wants is to be inside with good food and be warm, celebrate. And she doesn't get to have any of that. But I guess at the end of it all, she ended up being happy because she got to be with her grandmother. So, kind of a happy ending, I guess. But not really. But yeah, that was The Little Magic Girl. And let me know if you want me to read any of the other stories in here. Thank you.